Hello, I'm Stan Stalnaker with Hub Culture, and we're live at COP27 in the Hub Culture Climate Pavilion with Hedera. It's a distributed ledger. Joining us right now is Joe Robertson. He's the head of Citizens Climate, and he's involved with something called EAT. Everyone likes to eat. Joe, it's great to have you back. We last worked together in Paris when Citizens Climate was a partner of the Hub Culture Pavilion in Paris during COP, and we all know that some great things came out of Paris and really set the framework. But it's been 7 years, a lot's happened. Tell us what you're up to now, and particularly let's eat.
All right. Well, thank you, Stan. You know, that roundtable that we had in Paris actually led to some really important insights that ultimately caused us at Citizens Climate to create something called Resilience Intelligence, a program to look at how we bring sustainable finance, climate action, and risk and resilience calculations together to drive change. Mm-hmm. So we're very grateful for how that worked out.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. So I'm also a senior advisor for sustainable finance at the EAT Foundation, which is based in Oslo. EAT exists to drive the great food systems transformation using science and knowledge to inform decision makers.
Let's break that down.
Yeah.
The great transformation to inform science and knowledge decision makers?
Food systems transformation. So, you know, whether we know it or...
What is food systems transformation?
Yeah, whether we know it or not, our food is part of a much bigger ecosystem. The ecosystems in the natural world and our own human ecosystems. But it isn't really planned that way. It's planned in industrial sectors, it's planned in government policies, and it's driven by financial decisions that don't necessarily consider the external effects, positive or negative.
Okay.
And so the food systems transformation is about making sure that the way we produce food, the way we distribute, manage, and consume food, what it does for our health, what it does to nature, is overall positive, that we're operating within planetary boundaries and making sure people are healthy, reducing the incidence of non-communicable diseases.
That raises a lot of questions, but I did interrupt you. So how does that continue into what EAT's mission is?
Well, so, you know, EAT's mission is to bring us a food system that is healthy for people and for the planet.
Okay.
And in 2019, EAT published the first EAT Lancet Commission report focusing on how we actually get to that healthy food system. Can we do it within planetary boundaries? It maps out how we can achieve it, what the dietary change would have to look like, what the portions would be day to day of different
Can you give us a broad sense of what success would look like to get to that?
Yeah, success would look like we don't have to eliminate meat consumption, but yes, we eat less meat, a reasonable amount given what it does to our health and to the health of nature.
Have you heard about the 80-20 rule?
The 80-20 rule.
So this is something that FAIR, one of our partners, is talking about, and looking at a common kind of initiative standard for if you're going to be an omnivore, mm-hmm. that you try to look at 80% plant-based and 20% meat-based. So a lot of people tend to work 50, even 60%. But looking at those animal proteins to drop to 20% as a general rule, that alone would make a massive difference.
Absolutely. And, you know, for some people, for the people who, you know, there are some people in the world whose mentality about food is, if it isn't meat, it isn't food, actually. Mm-hmm. And for those people, any reduction is going to have a significant impact on the rest of the world. And for most of us who don't really think that way, it's part of our diet. Just reducing to a healthy level so that you're physically healthier, your impact on nature is healthier, your occupation of segments of the food system that drive cost for others is healthier for society. Doing that part is going to be better. So you diversify what you eat.
Is there a point at which, like across the macro diet, that meat becomes kind of sustainable?
Yes, it can be sustainable. I mean, when you use regenerative practices, when the interaction between meat production and natural systems is healthy and regenerative and sustainable, at that point, the amount of meat produced and what we're consuming distributed across the world would have to be at a rational level to sustain our food systems, to sustain humanity. What that exact level will be over time, we don't yet know. The EAT Lancet Commission report has projections for how we stay within planetary boundaries, but now there's going to be a second EAT Lancet Commission report which goes to answer the more detailed questions about pathways, about much more detailed regional and cultural specifics.
Given the impact of climate change, especially heat stress lowering crop yields across the board, and then you have disturbances like obviously Ukraine,
yeah.
Is there a sense of how much we're overshooting in terms of these planetary boundaries, are we already overshooting, and if so, by how much?
We're overshooting by a lot. So, each year there's a day that passes when we have consumed what the Earth has to offer, and that's now
like
coming
the Zero
to be
Earth Day.
Yeah,
right?
and now that's the middle of July, and
That's
so
not good.
we're using almost 2 Earths every year. We can't keep doing that for very long because we're undermining nature's ability to build back to give us the same amount of nutrition next year.
Any idea how long we've been doing that?
We've been overshooting for at least 3 decades, not on every planetary boundary. But now when we look at the planetary boundaries just with our food systems are overshooting 5 out of 9 planetary boundaries that we've tracked.
Is it getting worse or getting better?
It's getting worse. I mean, our overall industrial interaction with nature is still getting worse. We're beginning to develop the tools to be resilient, to understand these risks, to understand where counterproductive behavior in industrial systems undermines nature's ability to provide the things we need, like clean water, clean air, and food. But we haven't really mainstreamed that information across the financial sector or the policymaking world yet.
Okay. Where do we find out more about EAT?
So you can go to eatforum.org to learn about EAT.
Okay. I'm going to eat that up.
All right.
Thanks, Joe. I'm Stan Stalnaker with Hub Culture. Find more videos and content on YouTube. Check out our Instagram over at Hub Culture, and find us on the Chronicles podcast, where you're going to find a lot of deep, in-depth conversations coming out of COP27 and wherever else you find a hub.